What do you think of the response of the international community to these Israeli violations? Of course, we mentioned earlier on about Macron's response. President Biden has said that he is absolutely and positively urging Israel to stop these attacks on peacekeepers. Do you believe this kind of response is adequate or effective?
Not at all. This type of response is certainly not adequate. And this type of response is exactly what will encourage Israel to do its next attack on UN peacekeeping forces and its next attack on civilians, and will continue violating international law in the same way that it has been doing for decades. Mere criticism that is not combined with any sanctions, with any action, is actually meaningless. When the Biden administration criticizes Israel for violations of international law without actually necessarily even calling them violations of international law or war crimes, and at the same time continuing to fund the Israeli army, to provide it with weapons, to provide it with all the needs to continue these crimes, in that sense, the United States is actually only encouraging the continuation of these crimes.
Okay, I'm going to break in there because we're running out of time, and I wanted to give Saeed Al-Qasa an opportunity to give his view as well.
The international community should take practical steps and effective steps. I'd like to provide an example on this. In 1986, when the Popular Front exploded the Israeli airplanes, the Israeli forces struck Beirut airport and damaged 12 airplanes for the Lebanese airlines. At that time, General de Gaulle, as far as I remember, and I think he was the French president at that time, he cut the ties with Israel and imposed sanctions on Israel. And he took a strict situation or a stance. The international community should take more strict actions towards the state of Israel, the Zionist enemy. They should stop them.
Okay, I've just been told we do have a little bit more time, so I apologize for interrupting you, Professor Nasibeh. Another question for you, Professor. How effective has UNIFIL been in protecting civilians and securing borders, and how much more difficult will it be for them to do that now?
It hasn't been effective in protecting civilians, in fact. It does not really have any fighting mandate in where it's working now in the south of Lebanon. It only observes the violations of any of the two parties at war on the UN Security Council resolutions, and that's it. So they have not really contributed into protecting civilians from the strikes that Israel has been conducting since the beginning of this offensive and aggression on Lebanon.
And Mr. Al-Qasa, given the current situation, what do you foresee as the future role of UN peacekeeping forces in Lebanon?
In the future, I can only foresee that Resolution 1701 should be implemented literally by the widespread of the Lebanese army to support the UNIFIL forces in south of Lebanon and to evacuate Litani's southern area from all the militias or illegal militias. So any armed phenomena that are not affiliated to the Lebanese state should be evacuated from that area. Resolution 1701 stipulates that all the relevant international resolutions, including 1680, should be implemented. So all the Lebanese militias and non-Lebanese militias should be dissolved and their weapons should be submitted to the Lebanese army. And according to the Lebanese constitution, that stipulates that the ownership, the use of weapons should be only conducted by the Lebanese army. Lebanon can only be freed by the implementation of the Lebanese constitution. Then the peacekeeping forces can exist with their supportive role, and in this case they can be leveraged better. I'd like to tell you that since 2006 and up till now, the UNIFIL forces do developmental actions in southern Lebanon and with their local people, and they play an active role in this regard.